Folks, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you coming on the line with us. My name is John Dubas with Premier Marketing, and we'll be spending the next 55, 60 minutes discussing some of the assistance programs that are available to the Medicare population that can make a substantial difference in their quality of life, how the benefits that they're accessing can be improved, and as an agent and agency serving the Medicare population, it is of great benefit for you as well because it gives you that opportunity to make certain that you maintain your base of business through maximizing the benefits with the use of these programs. But it's also a great way for you to market and put yourself into the community as the subject matter expert that folks need to talk to about Medicare programs. These are a variety of programs that do vary from state to state to one degree or another. Not a lot across the board. We'll go through some specifics for you, but we're also going to do a short presentation on the Medicare Savings programs in a fashion that you can utilize to visit with the community at large as well, through webinars, seminars, however you approach the market now and moving forward. That's one of the key components of these programs, is the fact that if a person qualifies for them, they do qualify for a quarterly special election period, and that can make a huge difference for you in enlarging the prospect pool that you have to speak with. So you'll notice in the software package that there is a section for both questions and chat. I ask that you put your questions in the questions box. We do normally address most of them through the course of the presentation, but we'll make certain that we maximize your value by answering your questions today as well. Much of the information we provide today is very detailed, and so it will be provided and available to you through your marketer, your agent success manager with Premier. So if you work hand in hand with someone with our organization, they will have this detail for you. And for you that don't at this point in time, we can make it available to you as well upon your request. Today's presentation is also being recorded and will be made available as it uploads on our website at premiersmi.com and on our YouTube channel as well. I recognize many of the names of the folks that are on today's broadcast, some I don't. So let's start with a little bit of a level set as to who Premier Marketing is. We're a national marketing organization founded in 1968. That's part of the Integrity Marketing Platform. Offices across the country. We're licensed in all 50 states. And we act as an insurance wholesaler working through independent insurance agents such as yourself through contracts that are at the highest possible commission levels, with recruiting contracts available to those who qualify. We do so through a full portfolio of products that's of interest specifically to the Medicare population and many of the folks in the under 65 market as well. But when you look at Medicare, we have those base medical programs for you. The Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement plans and prescription drug programs, which are a key component of today's discussion, and the benefits that we'll discuss with these assistance programs overlay these programs. So it can make a big difference for you. But we also have a full portfolio of life insurance and annuity products, including final expense life insurance and pre-need plans, long and short-term care programs, disability income plans, and ancillary benefits that fill the need for folks in specific areas, such as dental, vision, hearing programs, critical illness cancer plans, hospital indemnity programs, accident and telehealth programs as well. When we look at the Medicare Advantage programs, we have a full portfolio. The national carrier is there for you for your use through our organization, and many of the strong regionals that can make a difference for you in your market as well. And that same philosophy carries over into the standalone prescription drug plans, where, well, the majority of these, vast majority of these, are available as part of your contract with a Medicare Advantage carrier. But they're out there to make certain that you're able to accommodate the needs of your prospects and clients, regardless of their base medical coverages. A couple of significant differences, however: Mutual of Omaha is a separate contract from any of their other programs, and offering their prescription drug plans, and Clever RX is actually a discount program and not a Part D standalone prescription drug plan. When we look at Medicare supplements, you have a broad portfolio of products that are out there, programs set up to help you be successful in this space, some really awesome programs already on play, but we got a couple of big ones coming out this next week that we aren't allowed to give details on yet. But wink, wink, nudge, nudge, look for those because they'll make a huge difference for you moving forward, not only during annual election period where a whole bunch of Medicare supplements are written as well, but in the intervening time period because, well, Medicare supplements aren't subject to lock-in. So we can do some things year round. When we look at the ancillary products in each of those categories, the national leaders are there for you for your use through our organization. We find this a key component in the success of many agencies because this addresses specific needs, creates an additional revenue stream, but most importantly, covers a specific need of our prospects and clients that allows us to cross-sell, to drive up our retention, our persistency, but satisfy that need of our prospecting clients in these different areas. So as we talk about different assistance programs for Medicare, let's look a little bit about that at that Medicare market, huge market. We look at the folks that are aging in, a near exponential number of folks coming into the Medicare eligibility. The aging of the baby boomers, the silver tsunami, 10,000 people a day. So many people all the time coming in based just on age. But we're seeing a number of these folks that are not taking advantage of their Medicare benefits completely as they become eligible for one reason or another. They're delaying it. Perhaps they're tail end of the baby boomers. They want to wait until they get maximum benefit out of Social Security at 66 and a half or 67, continuing to work because of the pandemic or for whatever other reason they choose to do so. Whatever it is, it kind of tempers that overall number, but that is more than made up for by that percentage of people that are under the age of 65 and accessing benefits because of medical disability. A key market for us because these are folks that really need the help provided through our assistance in delivering the information on assistance programs, entitlement programs of some sort that can make a huge difference in their quality of life as well. And it gives us that key to break into that under 65 market, which is a little more difficult to identify than the traditional Medicare beneficiary, but one that is key to success for all of us as well. And we look at it and we realize that, Medicare folks, well, we get choices as we go into Medicare. You don't have to do anything. Decision to make a decision is a decision, as an old sales manager of mine said. You can even decline Part B if you wanted to. Thankfully, not many people do without good reason. Obviously, you can defer that. You have group coverage or for whatever else. Some people will then self-insure for the shortfall in the medical coverage on those expenses and perhaps pick up that Part D plan, that standalone Part D plan that helps them with the cost of medications. Some will access a standardized, modernized Medicare supplement program and cover the shortfall in that fashion, or others will bundle their benefits into a Medicare Advantage plan, a Part C program. And in each of these areas, with these choices, the programs we speak of today can make a big difference in the quality of life of the individuals, regardless of their choice. And it gives us that opportunity to visit with people about their base coverages. Because let's face it, we're seeing some pretty even split as people go into Medicare as to their base coverages, but we have folks that aren't understanding the information that is coming to them. And when we talk about the programs we discussed today, there's a whole bunch more of these things, those acronyms. MOUSE, MIC, KEY, MOUSE. We want to be able to translate and make people understand, help them understand, I should say, what we're talking about. And sometimes, this screenshot from the CMS website from a few months ago, it had 4,420 acronyms then. We want to make certain that we're able to discuss things and people can understand what we're talking about and watch as I go through today's presentation, me slip and say, okay, here's an MSP, all these different things that come into play. However, this gives us that opportunity to make certain that we're properly communicating and that people can share our message. This is a person that is concerned about me and make certain that I understand what's going on. It also gives us the reminder that if we use acronyms, we need to define them And if we can, in many areas, limit the use of acronyms so we speak the same language. What we speak of today, of course, is applicable at any time of the year, but we have the standardized election periods that the government has given us to help people within the Medicare arena, and of course, importantly, for them to make choices. But regardless of what election period we're in, or hey, are we looking to expand a special election period, an SEP, for these folks? Because there is one, that quarterly one for the first 3 quarters of the year, and then the standard AEP election. In each of these categories, it provides one of those key special election periods that give us the opportunity to address the choices that they may have made or not made in the past, and give them the information they need, supported with the detail that we can provide on these assistance programs. We can change coverages throughout the year, and that's a huge thing. And in addition to these special election periods, there's, well, the special election periods, we have special election periods brought on by weather or whatever else. I saw one come across the board here this last week, a special election period in one state for gun violence. That's kind of interesting. But anyway, so there's some different things there that come into play that give us an opportunity to help people year round. And that's a key component of making certain that we know, a key motivator, I should say, of having the detail we need to help people with these programs. Because, well, Kaiser Family Foundation, the last piece of data they had available for us, we're seeing that the majority of people on Medicare, the vast majority of people on Medicare, aren't comparing their plans year over year, regardless of the type of base coverage they have. And we all know, as involved agents within this community, year over year, there's some changes. We need to make certain that people realize the ramifications of, once again, that decision to make a decision. Providing that information, giving them an opportunity to change their coverage throughout the year, gives us that piece of the pie that we need to entice people to, hey, open your eyes, look at these choices that you have, see the monies that this can help you with. Because the people we talk to, in many cases, the especially vulnerable population, they're particularly affected by dollars and cents. Not that anyone wants to spend money they don't need to, but we need to make certain that we can leverage these programs, extend the coverages that people have on their medical and prescription drug coverage, and improve the quality of their life. Make a sale, yeah, but we're making a big difference in their life as well. And that includes people that may just have a prescription drug program because they are particularly affected by some of the assistances, well, there's a good word, that we have with the Extra Help program, the LIS program, the Low Income Subsidy program. All different shades of lipstick on a pig when we describe that program, but it can make a huge difference for these people. And many of these folks may not know of the options they have to improve their medical coverages as well. So it gives us an opportunity to address the prescription shortfall, should there be one, and perhaps the problems that they will have with their overall cost of coverage too. They're not using the government sites. They're not reading the Medicare and You book that comes to them by the Postal Service or electronically every October. They're not using apps off Google Play or the App Store. Hey, they're not even using some of the online pieces. That speaks to ways that they can save money. So we are the source of information. So we're going to help them understand how they can make Medicare more affordable for themselves and for their family members. And we do so with a huge market. So we look at the number of people that qualify for this assistance, and it's a big, big portion of the Medicare world. And so it can really expand our markets moving forward. And pardon me for just a moment, we had a question popped up. I know, Alex, I'm going a little fast. These slides will be made available to you, along with some of the information I reference. I'm sorry, it's a really long presentation. Got a lot of caffeine in my system here, I guess. I want to make certain that you have the detail on an overview, and then there's a ton of numbers coming. So we want to make certain that you have those available for 2022 numbers. 2023, we won't see them, of course, qualification numbers until next year. But we also want to deliver them, that information to them, much as what we want to do with you in the fashion that is best for you. Are we able to make certain that you have the detail you need to properly communicate? And then can you turn that around and get it to the folks that you're visiting with? A lot of folks in the lower income brackets may not have some of the same access to social media, different internet tools, the different pieces that are out there. So some of this will detail in-person visits. And some of these visits are a little longer than some of the other sales calls, because we want to make certain that you have access to the numbers and that you're able to communicate with the folks and that they have them as well. So we look for resources that are available from the government. We want that third-party endorsement of sorts, and leverage the information that you have from carriers as well. Sometimes we're able to deliver that virtually. That's wonderful when we can. Sometimes it's a combination, a hybrid thing, but we'll make certain that you have this detail and these numbers, and they will be available through your marketer and the home office. I have stopped kicking out emails on follow-up on these, or had, because we're finding I was in a lot of spam filters, getting blacklisted a few times. I will tomorrow send out information as well for everyone who RSVP'd to the meeting to make certain that you have it. So we'll make certain that that happens for you. And we realize that this environment has changed. You know, the pandemic has accelerated the use of certain things that folks, oh man, I would have done that in the past. But if you think of it, for over a year, doctor's appointments were all virtual. Primary care doctors, specialists, a lot of prep work for hospitals and dentists. Different components of our life were all virtual. Celebrations of our faith were all online. So we have a population that is much more comfortable in receiving information this way, and we're able to deliver it with some of the detail that we get for you. So as we speak to an individual about these programs, how are we going to go about making certain we stay compliant, that we are confident in the numbers that we give and we have available, and how we can make certain that they need to do that review that they may have just blown off last fall, or don't realize that they can change over the course of the year. So as Mr. Vasquez is mentioning, how do we review these benefits with whatever company, and how can we avoid any compliance issues from that? Well, that's part of an overall outreach that we have with this community. And we have another presentation that we do on how you mine a certain community to do it, through centers of influence or faith-based organizations or through providers. So there's a number of ways we reach this community, much as we do any other component of the Medicare population. This is a great specific topic that can elicit a response perhaps more quickly than, hey, I can help your Medicare people. We go in with specifics of, you know, we have these different assistance programs made available, and we want to make certain that your patients, that your attendees, or your congregation, whatever it is, realizes that there is additional programs out there that can help them with cost, and that will elicit a response. Is there a simple listing of these folks? No. But if you do a campaign, obviously you can set things at certain financial numbers, income and assets numbers, that can help identify the population. So as we go into this, let's look at some of the base things that we have, specifically when we look at folks just looking for help with their drugs. Hey, we're into August now. I live in Texas. It's hotter than Hades some days, well, most days here lately. And we need to use that heat to motivate ourselves as to think of the folks that now have additional economic pressures based on the fact that their electric bill is twice what it was a couple of months ago or whatever. So they have additional strains on their budget, the different things that we can use to come in and help them with those costs available through their overall budget. Right now, we're seeing a lot of programs roll out with energy assistance for next year. There are energy assistance programs as well. We can get you information on that through National Council on Aging. But this program will help them maximize the plan benefits of the program they already have. So if they have a program in place because of you, making certain that if they qualify for the help on the drug cost, you're helping them with them so someone else doesn't take them away from you. We want to retain our base of prospects and clients as well. We also want to be able to do that throughout the year. And so these programs do create that special election period, that SEP, one per quarter for the first 3 quarters. So we're into that 3rd quarter. We have that available to us. Now, many of the carriers have that assistance where you can dial in and say, hey, have they already used it? We want to make certain that we are doing what we can to make this available to as many people, but we're doing it compliantly and setting proper expectations. It is very important for us to note, too, that we got the plan we think is the best one in place for them anyway. Have we done the annual review? Hopefully. These programs layer on top of it. So it just affects the costs in those plans, not the machination, not how those programs actually work. So it doesn't affect the formulary or some of the other requirements, the step therapy or quantity limits that may be part of the plan they're currently in. It does affect their cost. And if they were one of those individuals that enrolled late into a Part D program, it can help with those enrollment penalties as well. So we want to make certain that we're using this entire package to increase our prospect pool. It gives us then that assurance that we're doing what's best for our client. We're making it harder for anyone to replace our programs, and we're enhancing their benefits, of course. If it is an individual that perhaps is best served by another program, that SEP gives us the ability to change programs, that special election period. It also gives us a little bit of flexibility on how we manage our time. We can set up different parameters as to when we work this program and how we can go back and use it as a point of communication with folks that we visited with the past, if we sold them or not, as long as we have permission to call, and increase then that likelihood of a referral. You think about it, we kind of hang out with people that are like us. And so if someone else is having challenges with the cost of their medications, they're probably all talking about it. I've got a sister that is on Medicare. We talk about this all the time, about the massive cost that she encounters with her medications and how we address that moving forward. This is, however, a section of the population that is sometimes referred to as the near poor. So they have a little bit of a different attitude, a little bit of a different, well, they're more receptive to some of this information because they haven't had different things all paid for in the past. It can make a big difference and can make a huge difference for you in not only growing your business, but growing the number of people that you visit with about it. So Mr. Vasquez, in a manner of speaking, this is one of the ways that we really grow this market, because people hang out with other people like them, and it gives us then that opportunity to get those referrals. So it gives us increased access to prescription drug coverages. It helps protect people from that Part D coverage gap, the donut hole that went away but still has higher financial responsibility, helps us deal with that. As I mentioned before, it can help waive that late enrollment penalty for Part D, gives us that SEP, and gives us also an opportunity to further assist people by moving beyond just help with medications, because the application for low income subsidy, the LIS programs, will trigger an application for Medicare savings programs as well. And that brings up an entirely additional topic we'll address in just a moment. So in order to be eligible for low income subsidy, the person has to have Medicare Part A and or Part B. They got to live in the United States, the 50 states or the District of Columbia. They got to meet certain financial criteria based off the federal poverty level and an assets test. We'll talk about that in specifics in a moment. These folks may be deemed eligible, automatically get this assistance if they are already on another program that this is rolled into. So the Medicare savings programs, or if they have full Medicaid or SSI, These folks don't need to apply for LIS. They're integrated into the program, and sometimes they won't know, but we'll have tips as to how you can help identify them as well. So once a person is deemed eligible and on the programs, they generally get the assistance for the remainder of the calendar year. And I apologize. We have some folks saying that the audio is not perfect. I'm sorry. I'll try to be better about speaking up and speaking into the microphone a little more loudly. So one of the things that we have is how this affects a person that may be auto-enrolled into a drug program for one reason or another, or said, oh, gee, this is the one with the cheapest premium, least expensive premium, I should say. This might be the thing we need to do. Take this cheap plan. May not be the best thing for them because of the formulary and the other things that are there, but we all know the standard Part D programs have a minimum set by the government. This details that. So you've got that annual deductible that's up to $480 that's out of pocket before you have any drug coverage with the minimum, I'll call them a minimum Part D program. That initial coverage limit is increasing year over year for inflation and other reasons, but that's a median number. So when we hit that more expensive out-of-pocket piece, formerly called the donut hole, that's where half the people they reach that number and they don't go above it. The other half does. So we got a lot of people to talk to, and they have to deal with that MOOP, that maximum out of pocket, that can be devastating financially for folks across the board, particularly folks that are lower income. It gives us then that opportunity, however, to limit some of these costs, and we make certain that we are able to help them contain those costs and deal with them on a regular basis. I mentioned, well, gee, how do I know if they have it? Well, the majority of carriers have that producer help desk assistance that will help identify a person's coverages or levels of assistance. But as you speak to them and you visit with them about what they're paying for their medications, we see standard copays across the board for different types of medications. And if they say, hey, that I'm paying, that's a generic drug, I'm paying less than $4 for it. Well, is it $4? Could be, one of the programs the different pharmacies have. You got to watch that. Or is it $3.95? If they go, well, yeah, that's it. That's it. If that's the case, you have a pretty good indication they may well already be on LIS. You don't have to initiate a process to create a special election period for the third quarter. It may well already be there. That's when you reference the carrier assistance and see, well, gee, we're coming up on a week in August. Have they already used it? Well, probably not, but we want to make certain that we know ahead of time. So we have a big difference. When I wanted to leave this slide in here when we adjusted it, because we see these numbers go up year over year. They'll go up again next year. The deductible and the coverages. We have a whole bunch of people realizing that this is a great political hot potato we can play with. Oh, gee, this is so expensive. We got to do things to help contain it. This gives us that indication that those numbers are going up year over year, and we need to make available the assistance that's out there for folks. One of the things we got to be aware of when we speak of drug coverage, however, particularly with these assistance programs and how they pay for things, is what a benchmark premium is. And these are the maximum monthly Part D premiums that will be paid by CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, for people that qualify for LIS, Low Income Subsidy plans. If they were auto-enrolled in a program, more than likely they were put into a rotation of the programs available by different carriers that fall at benchmark or below. Doesn't always happen that way, but we also can realize that if someone selects a plan that their premium is above that benchmark, they're responsible for that difference between that base that's covered here with LIS versus what they actually have to pay for. And it may be just a couple of bucks, $5, whatever, but we know that there are Part D programs out there that can be fairly hefty in premium, and it won't fully cover it if we don't make them aware of the fact that they have options and there may be other plans that may fit their situation better financially. And of course, low income subsidy also has a program for folks that partially qualify. So this just then reduces their premium if they're in that situation. These are the higher income of the low income people, we'll put it that way. These do change over time. Year over year, they do change, and they're different state to state. So we want to make certain that folks realize what those benchmarks are and how that can make a difference. It also makes a difference as to the number of plans that are available that are fully covered. And we saw in 2022 a fairly substantial drop in the number of plans that are out there that fit that benchmark. So we want to make certain that we're establishing right off the bat, here's the benchmark in my target state. This is the plans that are available under that benchmark. We need to make certain that we're addressing the premium to start with. And that is basically work on our part, identifying an opportunity to move people if possible. If they're on LIS, they probably have that set. So there's acronym heaven there for you. But we want to make certain that we're using a base program that deals with that expense to start with. It's not huge. No, it's not. But it can make a difference in the quality of life month to month. We also want to make certain that people realize that even if their plan, excuse me, did stay the same year over year, there might be differences within it where the drug formulary is there, but the drug moved from one tier to another. So the costs are different. Or there might be increases in the cost of medications for no apparent reason that we can see, but it brings about the need to do an evaluation of the overall plans so we can help change the course of their budget month to month, but also maintain and contain their cost regardless of the moves within the plan that they're on. Does that predicate a move to another program? Yeah, in some cases it surely does. Some cases it doesn't. Pretty rare. But we want to make certain that we look at not just the plan itself, but the market overall and how some of these medications has changed. I mean, we go back less than a year and we talk about a medication that rolled out for Alzheimer's. It affected costs across the board that, gee, Part B premiums were affected by it. So there are different things in the market we need to be aware of and make that information part of our analysis with the people we visit with. So putting people on these programs outside of the benefits we talked about for ourselves, it can really help these people with those premiums, with the deductibles, with the co-insurance, maximizes the value of the plan they're on. Hopefully it's one that we help them with, or we do an evaluation and we change it because it will help contain the overall cost and increase our prospect pool. It gives us that quarterly special election period, as I mentioned repeatedly, through the first 3 quarters, and it gives us then that opportunity to also prep them for the annual review that's coming up pretty quickly, October 15th through December 7th, where we want to look at 2023 plans because there are changes coming. There always are. Changes is inevitable. It, however, does give us the opportunity to sell now and affect their financial situation positively now as well. So we look at this and we pull more information from Kaiser Family Foundation, and it tells us that nearly 3/4 of the Part D, standalone Part D enrollees without LIS, they paid a higher premium this year staying in their plan. So the plan may not have changed too terribly much itself, but the costs went up. That gives us then that again that opportunity to make certain that we are limiting that cost as the first component of our discussion. Now, I mentioned that there are a couple levels of assistance. So we have LIS programs, low income subsidy programs, help with medications for the Medicare population that's at 150% of federal poverty level and below. But between 135 and 150% of the federal poverty level, it's a partial subsidy. So this is a population that isn't as readily identifiable, or perhaps may not be enrolled in these programs at all or even know about them because they don't think they qualify. However, it helps us then across the board because, once again, creates that SEP, gives us the opportunity to uh, change programs when appropriate and cross-sell as well. So those that are in full help, well, they don't pay for that premium as long as it's below the benchmark. They don't have a Part D deductible. It standardizes and lowers the co-payments that you see in most programs. And once that person, if they're a heavy utilizer of medications, hit the catastrophic limit, it eliminates those co-pays as well. For the folks that are partial, well, depending upon where they fall on an income scale, it helps reduce that premium at least. It limits that big deductible down to under $100. You see the co-insurance decrease to 15%, and you see the co-payments being standardized once they're out of pocket. And we see how that works with how much money an individual has through the federal poverty level and how much of an assistance that comes into play. So those folks that are at 135 to 140% of federal poverty level are only paying 25% out of pocket, increasing as they go up to that 150% of federal poverty level. Great, John. You're telling us all these numbers. What the heck are they? Well, this is one of the great reference pieces that you will be receiving. Compliments of the National Council on Aging. It goes through all of these different levels for the continental United States and for Alaska and Hawaii, different pieces. So you don't have to worry about, oh, golly, I didn't memorize all these numbers. God bless you if you did. But if you didn't, they're right here in a reference piece, not labeled or branded by any carrier. We're looking at the National Council on Aging and the information that they are delivering for us for the program. You can help people get these assistance programs for their medications online through Social Security website or through the benefits checkup website, and you can do so as an advocate on their behalf compliantly. Any opportunity you have to do this, please do it online. Like everything else, we're gone virtual with about everything that we do here. But if we do an online application, it's not going to let us submit it if it's not complete. It's not going to have to deal with our handwriting, which I don't know about you, but I kind of speak English, a smattering of some other languages, but I write in Chickenese. We want to make certain that they can read what we write. And it accepts that electronic signature of the beneficiary to get it rolling. You do have access to paper forms, where I see most agents, if they use this, they are doing this to obtain all the information they need and then create this at a time outside of their appointment, perhaps. They've got a different product in play or whatever they're visiting about. It gives us an opportunity to put all that information down, and once we get back to our office, we can submit it for them as well. These are usually handled in a pretty good turnaround time, about 3 weeks, and then they send the applicant the letter of, yes, you got it, or no, you don't. It gives us then that opportunity, however, to manage our time and deliver upon this service. There are folks out there that don't want them done right in front of them. So you can pull up the website on your laptop if you have it and slap it out right there. It doesn't take too terribly long, but this is one of the components I mentioned that makes this appointment longer should you choose to deliver that service. Benefits checkup, you actually have a number of carriers that will help fund these programs, label it as an assistance program. A couple carriers have their own systems in place there as well. So it's another way for that person to get this assistance outside of your help. Careful, you do that, you lose control, but hey. But it also makes them aware of the fact that, hey, there may be energy assistance programs. There may be some things that can help with food or transportation, whatever it happens to be. So all kinds of crazy things going on in our world right now, and people need a lot of help in different areas. We got some programs that can help you that way that you can present, but keep in mind those are generally pointed at very low income people that may not have the opportunity for you to sell anything else. Don't mean to sound so mercenary, but it's something you need to be aware of. There are also the state assistance insurance assistance programs, the SHIP programs out there that will help people too. Not always an agent's best friend on some different things. So that is, however, a resource you can use should you choose to do so. Would I necessarily recommend that? I'd look at another avenue first. Doing these applications, obviously, online's faster and easier. It doesn't require verifying documents. Social Security Administration will use federal records to verify the answers. If you're doing it by paper and it's incomplete, Social Security will follow up by phone with the applicant eventually. Online applications, as I mentioned, has to be complete before it's submitted. Instruction sheets are in multiple languages on Social Security's website, so it can be a great way to help people in different ethnic situations understand what you're saying as well. So we want to make certain that we're doing things and expediting the process. It's how it looks online. This is how it looks on paper. This is the letter they get telling them, yes, no, we don't get it. You notice this says 10 to 14 business days, and the other one said about 3 weeks. Well, we're in a time of pandemic. We all know some of the challenges we had getting some information from Social Security offices. It stretches a little bit. You have different resources out there that can help you with this too, for you to study up on should you choose to do so or need them as part of a presentation or as documentation as to what you're doing. All out there, all provided by the government, great pieces as well. Ton of them. And then, of course, you've got information available from the National Council on Aging that can be invaluable. There's a couple of things you'll see in just a moment that really help you with presentations to the community, live or virtually. And we'll talk about those in a second. Well, here's the second. This is a presentation that you can personalize. I mean, you got my ugly mug on this one with my contact information, but it rolls through a PowerPoint that explains low income subsidy that you can use. Well, it's fairly short, unlike a lot of what I delivered to you. Fairly short, can be delivered, and it can be one of those things that you can provide that person virtually, or if you want to print it off. A lot of ink on this one. It really sucks up the ink off your printer, but it can be that neat leave behind piece that can be valuable when you're not talking to not only the prospect, but for some of the family members indirectly that come in and your prospect and now client starts talking about this and they go, that don't sound right, Mom. That sounds like a scam. Well, here's the information all laid out. It can really help cement that relationship as well. This is the piece that I mentioned that we speak to about the Medicare Savings Programs, the next portion of our presentation. And that's why I'm speeding up here again. Sorry, caffeine kick in, baby. But I got 17 minutes before self-imposed deadline. Might go a little long. Pardon me for that. But this is another version that you can present to the community and make it available as part of the offerings, the services that you deliver. And that's a great piece that can go through and explain Medicare savings programs. And quite frankly, there's information on the web about this by different people. They're not using it. And hey, we don't necessarily want to send them just online. We want them to talk to us and make certain that they understand these pieces. So that includes translating some of these Medicare savings plans names because they can vary from state to state. Generally, they're pretty laid out in a standard fashion, but you can see by this point, you know, we've got 8 states here that call things differently than what they do across the rest of the country. So we want to properly communicate there for us. And it's important because as part of this entire package, the drug difference for folks that are in Medicare Advantage plans, gee, nearly 40% of them were integrated into an MA plan. So we want to make certain that even if we're talking to someone who has a Medicare Advantage plan, they may well already have LIS or qualify for it, and we can help them to make certain that they're maximizing their benefits one way or another. So pardon me for just a moment because I'm going to pull up this piece. This is the presentation, and pardon me for a moment, provided to us by the National Council on Aging that goes into explaining Medicare savings plans. An MSP 101, once again, you personalize it with your contact information. You're an insurance agent, you're a financial professional, you're not necessarily a social worker. We do want them to be aware of the fact that you're providing them this information and that they need to contact you for help. And they need to tell other people about you to contact you for help. because then it goes through that explanation and lays it out. What are MSPs? How do they work? What are the relationship they have to other benefits? How can we help? And do you have additional resources? So we speak to the fact that Medicare savings programs are Medicaid administered programs in conjunction with the state of residence, and they help cover Medicare premiums and cost sharing for those with Medicare that have limited income and assets, but don't qualify for full Medicaid. So keep in mind, LIS deals with medications. MSPs have LIS rolled into it, so it does deal with medications, but it deals not just with that Part D premium, it also deals with that Part B premium and some of the medical costs. And as I mentioned before, it can be labeled different according to the state of residence. And so if you're operating in one of those states, you'll obviously want to make people aware of that. These people are then assisted with the Medicare cost, the medical costs that they have within Medicare. And these are primarily programs. Well, Medicare is primarily the program for people 65 or plus, or the folks with disability, as we mentioned earlier in the presentation. But folks, in many cases, don't realize Medicare is not free until they see that deduction from their Social Security check that says, oh, wow, you got a premium here. We got to pay for it. And there are those additional deductibles and co-insurance they have to deal with. Some folks have a problem even with that assistance in play, where they can't afford some of those costs. And half the people on Medicare had incomes below $30,000 in 2019, according to the Kaiser Foundation. So these programs can help people pay for that shortfall in the Medicare programs if they qualify. The different levels of assistance, these are the three that we see most commonly. The Qualified Medicare Beneficiary, the QMB, the QMB. This pays the Part A premium if applicable, if they didn't have enough quarters in, and the Part B premium, but it also pays the A and B deductibles, co-insurance, other co-payments. Why would someone on this want that assistance programs, or pardon me, any other type of coverage if they got stuff paid for? We all know about the special needs programs that can provide additional benefits as well. And for many of those plans, QMB is what's necessary to maximize that coverage within that Medicare Advantage plan. The Specified Low Income Beneficiary, the SLMB, the SLMB, this is a program that helps pay that Part B premium. Same thing with the QI1, the Qualified Individuals, the QIs. Oh, gee, that's just a Part B premium. If they're qualifying for it, that's about 10% of their income. It makes a big difference as to their monthly benefit. These folks don't have some of the same entitlement mentalities we run across in other areas, and it gives us then a way to make certain that we are helping their budget, creating a special election period, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, so we can go into and visit about other needs. We speak to the fact that there are these different levels, and as someone just asked, do they know that they're in these levels? Some do, the majority don't. Some may not even realize they qualify them. They don't have the coverage even though they qualify for it. So this is one of the reasons why we need to publicize these campaigns, use them as part of our presentations, because the majority of people don't know they have it or don't know that they qualify for it. There are certain states that have a dually plan of sorts that the people will know, well, I've got this additional card. They don't necessarily know what it means. The QDWI, I don't include in a lot of this simply because it's different than the other MSPs. You don't run across it very often. I've been working in this area for over 25 years and have seen literally thousands of people. I haven't run through maybe a handful of these folks, but these are the folks that are disabled working individuals who go back to work. After they have the program, they have different income and assets tests that they need to satisfy. I want to make you aware of it, but you're not going to run across them too terribly much. And as I mentioned earlier, these slides will be made available through your marketer. They'll have them available tomorrow. I've got some obligations yet this afternoon into the evening. Otherwise, I'd be sending them out as well. If it's not too terribly late from this product rollout when I get home, I'll see if I can't get them out tonight too. These programs also help with that Part B late enrollment penalty, and it is incredibly helpful for people that didn't make a decision quickly enough, because those penalties can add up and it takes care of them. And unlike Medicaid requirements for long-term care, there's no estate recovery involved in this at all. And these folks get that prescription help automatically, as I mentioned before. You got different organizations that come into play and work with it. So the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, they work with the state Medicaid agencies to provide this assistance. Funding is kind of a shared expense, and the local states actually administer these programs. So we want to make certain that we're aware of how it works in the background. This isn't necessarily information you need to go into with great detail with the folks that you're visiting with. Who's eligible? Well, someone's got to have Part A. They got to meet the income and assets test, and they do vary in certain areas. There are no assets tests in 9 states and the District of Columbia. So other states, they may not qualify for it because they've got some property or something or whatever. In those states, the assets tests don't come into play. These applications are generally submitted through the Medicaid agencies. You work hand in hand in many circumstances with social workers at Social Security offices. There are ways that you can help with the application as well. And eligibility for this program, much like the drug assistance, is determined year over year. These are the numbers, plain and simple, in a slide as condensed as I could make it. So you have the different income limits for a single individual or a couple. Yeah, there's a bit of a marriage penalty in there, isn't there? For the different levels of assistance that we run into most frequently. As I flashed by that slide earlier with the National Council on Aging, NCOA, sorry, had a hard time with that. This is where that's pulled from. And you'll have that as a reference tool as well. So this, however, is a nice, clean one-pager for you for your reference. When I visit with people about this, I generally don't go, well, is your income below $1,153 gross? Remember, these are gross numbers. A lot of times they say, well, all I've got is my Social Security. This is the amount of my check. Keep in mind, that's a check with the Part B premium pulled out of it, and may even have premiums for a Part D plan pulled out of it as well. So we want to make certain that we have an accurate number. It's like, oh, hey, there are assistance programs out there. I brought this up on every appointment out there that can help with the cost of your medications or medical cost if you qualify. Is your income below, as a couple, right around $1,600, $1,500? They'll tell you pretty darn quickly. So you'll know if they qualify for QMB. I would normally shoot for the higher number. There are assistance programs that can help in different levels of help. So is your income as a couple below $2,000 a month gross? It then leads you into, okay, resource levels. We have assets tests that come into play. It excludes a house and your primary residence and 1 car, or your liquid assets below 11 grand. And that gives you kind of a guideline to follow as to how more persistent you need to be in pursuing the topic. These are programs that can make a huge difference, and sometimes they don't have to do anything, as I mentioned before, where they're deemed into the program based on other assistance programs. However, if they hadn't joined a plan on their own and they're facilitated into a program by CMS, that is a program that may not be best suited for them because, hey, they just got put into it. They didn't look up medications. They didn't look up tiers. They didn't look up formularies. That's where we come into play. It also gives us help for folks that may not qualify for this, but leads into the discussion about the medications, depending upon how we approach this. And that gives us then another way of determining if we can create an assistance program for them that can help them right away and can help us right away as well. A lot of times folks will ask, well, if the person has a Medicare savings plan, do they need a Medicare supplement? No, they don't. You can suspend the Medigap that they're on, but if they're on Medicaid or QMB and you sell them a Med Sup, you are going to Hades on a hot rail. I'm telling you, it's not appropriate. Slim Bs and QI1s, it may well suit the population there because it's helping with the Part B premium, not the other expenses. We want to make certain that we're doing things properly as well. And it gives us then something to consider because there are folks that say, well, hey, I fit the income test, but my assets are a little high. I've got a savings account here. There is some things they can do to spend down that money. They can't give it away. The government will chase them for that. They can, however, make improvements to their house or their car, and that can make a difference to draw down that available number of liquid resources to help them qualify. So it's different, in a manner of speaking, from long-term care Medicaid where someone's going into a nursing home. We want to make certain that we're helping them apply with this, or at least letting them know how they go about doing it. Once again, you defer this to a third party, you're losing control, so watch for that. But we can do some different things through the government sites, once again, and help them with this. We want to involve other decision makers too. So if there's a family member that has influence in this, they realize what we're doing with these programs to make them comfortable and make them aware of what's going on, and to create additional referral opportunities there too. These are cool because if someone's on a qualified Medicare beneficiary status, there's no balance billing. So we can take care of a lot of the challenges that they may have in that regard. They ever get a bill, they just I'd call the carrier and let them give them hell. Whatever it is, we can become involved and take care of that for them. It is a great way for us to leverage our information we have available and make people aware of, hey, we know what's going on. This is how we help people. This is how we be an advocate on your behalf to drive down cost and utilize programs that are out there that you just may not be aware of or have applied for. So we want to make certain that it works. I'm going to slide back there, of course, because there are other programs we can talk about as well if we get into people that are very low income. You've got additional resources as well, once again here, through the different government or NCOA sources. That's going to come to you as part of the follow-up too, and I will make certain that we get them to you as quickly as possible. As I mentioned, there are variances in different states. So if you work in California, you've got some different things going on there as well. LIS is the same across the country. Medicare savings programs, different animal. Say that LIS is the same across the country except for Hawaii and Alaska, but standardized across the board. So you have this presentation that you can use in this regard to help educate your prospects and clients and the community and yourself as a bit of a review. So I keep going on and on about, well, there are other programs out there as well that we can use to help. Benefits checkup line is wonderful because it can help them with, energy assistance, all the other pieces that can come into play there, help with some of those expenses that are exasperated by the weather and everything else. And making people aware of these can make a huge difference for you. If you've got them in a plan that uses benefits checkup and labels it with them, Aetna, Elements, a number of companies do it. Carrier will help you. So it makes a big difference. Why do you want to do all this from us? Well, for one thing, I like to throw up on you verbally, obviously, and make this detail available to you. We want to be your resource for a bunch of this information, but we also want to make it available for you to use through programs that can benefit everybody, yourself included. And so we have a way for you to electronically contract for a number of different programs. Many of the MA plans, we do some electronic contracting direct with them. But this is a great way for you to create an agent profile, a repository of your information, and contract electronically with a number of different carriers. We do make available discounted errors and admissions coverage for qualified agents. What makes you a qualified agent? You got to contract with us. You own it. Covers you regardless of whom you contract through with an insurance carrier. So it's not like being added to a blanket E&O policy for one carrier or another, and then you dance around, what am I going to do with the rest of this? We do offer discounted continuing education bundles through our association with WebCE, and we have a way for you to add to your own benefit package through modified guarantee issue disability income program for yourself, on which you're paid a commission on yourself. Much as where today's presentation is being recorded, will be made available on our website as soon as it uploads. It's available for you there 24/7, along with a ton of other presentations we've done with how do I work with providers? How do I work with the faith-based communities? What are some specifics in these different insurance topics? What about this carrier? Well, it's there for you to use, and it's also available on our YouTube channel as well. I cannot overemphasize the use of Medicare Center, the enrollment tool that's available without cost, free, as JJ Walker says. 2 agents contracted with us where you got a single login, multiple quoting engines, side-by-side comparisons are available. Then compliantly, after you collect that scope of appointment, that stores it for that 10-year period, whether you sell them or not. And it will have that recording function within it as well, kicking it off to make certain that you can satisfy that requirement, all as part of this program as well. You got that contact system within there, a CRM that you can use, and then other resources to help you with perhaps talking points for sales calls or sales scripts, whatever it happens to be. It's detail in there that you can use. We do also want to make you aware of the fact that while MA and PDP programs don't have a lot of incentive programs because the max comp is set by the government, some of those ancillary programs are med subs do. We have a page on our website that lays those out for you so you know exactly where they are, how they can help you qualify for carrier trips if available, and how they can help you qualify for programs with our organization as well. We want to put you in front of as many people as possible. Can't cold call for MA or PDP products. You can for med sup, you can for dental. We can make those lists available to you at low or no cost, depending upon your contracting situation. As I mentioned before, how do you approach those centers of influence in the community and utilize this information? We have those programs out there to help you. Carriers do help generate prospects from time to time. Mostly it's MA or PDP carriers. It's one of those quid pro quo things. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You create that relationship. You may be able to get assistance from the carriers as well. We do have internet lead and direct mail support, a cool T65 locator, and a referral program that reminds us to ask. That's the big thing. Only 11% of the agent population asks for a referral. Are you one of them? About 1 in 10? Sometimes, hey, it works so well, I forget to do it. Well, that program actually, and it's a recorded piece, only about 15 minutes long, that goes through and helps prompt you as to what to say and when. That direct mail program is based on production, drives down the cost of those mailers that go out, so that 1,000-piece drop is much more affordable based on production. But you have 2 of them. You can qualify for assistance through health programs and through final expense should production be there for you. And we use certain lead vendors to do it. We vet them. We want to make certain that they have the systems to deliver those leads to you as quickly as possible, and that you have an opportunity to make certain you stay compliant, because we read what they send out. You do also have an opportunity to pick up direct mail responses where you're not controlling the entire campaign. You're just buying an untouched, fresh direct mail lead through one of our platform partners. This cost will vary from area to area and time of year to time of year. This is as expensive as I've seen it, but it gives us then that opportunity to fill in our calendars and do some things without having to come out of pocket for an entire mail campaign. The internet leads are through Facebook, where we have a program set up for you for final expense and Medicare programs. Keep in mind, it is a microwave leave sponsorship, kind of, it clicks real quick. You get a response pretty quick, but they expect something back really quickly as well. So watch for that. That T65 locator is available to you without cost. You download it to your smartphone or your desktop, register for it. They check and make certain you have a contract with us, and it gives you information where you can pinpoint where people live according to the parameters that you set in place for it. That referral program, it's not just for the sales process. It's another way for us to reach out to our current book of business, speak to them about their situation, and get referrals in that fashion as well. So we want to make certain that we have the opportunity to work with you across the board with different programs. We want your business. We want to be referable to your agent friends as well. And so we're asking you for that. Do business with us. Tell people about us. And put this in play now. A key component of these type of assistance programs is the fact that you're not certifying for them necessarily. If you're going to deal with some of the special needs programs, the SNP plans by the MA plans, that may require additional certification with that carrier, but you can put it in play now. Make use of this. You got that set for the third quarter. You put it in play, and it can make a huge difference for the remainder of this year. So I'm going to check really quickly because I am just over the hour. We appear to have most of the questions covered. To repeat myself, it is recorded, will be available on our website and our YouTube channel. Your marketer with Premier will have this information tomorrow. I will make certain that I send a follow-up email as well with a lot of attachments. So mark me as, hey, he ain't a bad guy. Don't put him in my spam filter. I want to make certain that we deliver this information because it is so detail-oriented. It leaves us with, hey, if you've done business with us in the past, I want to thank you for that opportunity to do business and how we have done it and how we can perhaps expand that relationship. If you're considering doing business with us, I thank you for that opportunity. But at this time, I want to thank you for the investment of your most valuable resource. That's you and your time. And we spent a little over an hour with it here today. We gave you a ton of detail really quickly. We're going to provide you that information in writing so you have it for your reference and you can make use of it. And you can put this in play now. We can do business now. All that said and done, until we are able to visit once again, I wish you good selling. Thanks so very much. We'll talk to you soon.